Believe we're live streaming. It's so good to have everybody here at Outreach Noah class tonight. And we were just talking before we come on that Terry's working on some questions that was asked the past week, and we appreciate everybody that sent those questions in. Those of you listening by Power Faith Radio tonight, we want to welcome you. We do have the coffee shop listening. They have 15 with them tonight, and the Georgia group, they've got their biggest group tonight, 49, Terry, 49 people. That's growing. We're gonna have to go down there and see them.
We do need to get down to Georgia.
Yeah, and
I think they're south of Atlanta or something, just a couple hour drive. Well,
yeah,
it's a little further for you.
Yeah. So
it's like skipping a stone for me.
Yeah. So we're so glad that you're listening by Power Faith Radio, and we welcome you. And also those of you that are watching tonight via A Simple Walk, and the other Facebook group, B'nai Noach Fellowship, we thank you all so much. Now remember, A Simple Walk is a public group. You can share those videos with all your social media platform. And the B'nai Noach Fellowship is a private group. We kind of, from time to time, we'll deal with some different issues in there, and we appreciate you listening there. Please like, share, and comment. And it's brought to you tonight by Outreach Noah. You can find us at Outreach Noah YouTube channel. All of the videos are saved over there. And Terry, have we got we got a few playlists going over there, don't we?
We're at Outreach Noah. Well, we worked on changing the name and everything because we took a new direction, but we've got the Outreach Noah. We've got several underneath the Sacred Odyssey is what we started out with.
Right.
And then we've got the one I started, the little 5 and dime, where I'm trying to do like 5 to 10 minute videos. And I was supposed to done one this week, but with me, deciding to wear a brake rotor for a part of a shoe this week, it kind of put me back a little bit.
Yeah. Terry had a little accident. Oh, Terry, let me tell about the YouTube channel before we go any further.
Yeah, go ahead.
So if you're watching via YouTube, or you found your way over to YouTube and you're watching this video, please hit the thumbs up, subscribe, do all the above, and hit that notification bell that you'll be notified every time a new video goes up. So Terry has one shoe on and one shoe off. So now tell us about that, Terry.
Oh. Well, y'all know I work for a Toyota dealership, and I work in our parts warehouse because we wholesale Toyota Lexus parts all over the country. And I do shipping, what's called outbound shipping, to body shops pretty much throughout the South. And I was moving some brake rotors to a cart to move them to where we stage them for shipping. And evidently, when I grabbed the top one, I must have hung the bottom one and drug it off the shelf. And luckily, it was one of the smaller, like a Corolla rotor, not a Tundra. If it had been a Tundra, I probably had a cast up to here. anything Tundra is heavy. Doors, hoods, rotors. First time I picked up 2 Tundra rotors, that was the last time I done that. I actually almost jerked the ball socket out, but these were small ones, but it still clipped 3 of my toes. 57 years old and got my first broken bones. And my doctor that's been taking care of me, he's about my age. He's kind of like an old rock hippie type guy. He's kind of cool. And I looked at him, I said, you know how many ramps we jumped in when we were kids in the 70s?
Never got hurt.
And I said, I even sat on the handlebars and rode it, and, never a broken bone, but so I was like, oh, well, I guess it was time.
It was time. All right, Terry, I'm going to turn it over to you real quick and let you welcome everybody that's in the Zoom room tonight, and then we'll get ready with our Sadaka time.
All right, greetings, everyone. I would say good evening, but it's not evening everywhere. It's evening here in Southeast Tennessee and up where Scotty's at, up in the mountains, the Great Smoky Mountains. Oh, you forgot to say that, Scotty.
I did. I'll say that here in a minute.
But greetings, everyone. Welcome back to Outreach Noah. Tonight in our Zoom room, like I said, anyone's welcome. They can come into the Zoom room. The links is in our Facebook pages where you can just go in there and click the link and come in. Again, you don't have to have your camera on if you don't want to, but you're welcome to come and be a part of the live class tonight. And Actually, you can come in and enjoy some of the little pre-show bantering that we do sometimes. But of course, we have Scotty in the engine room down there in the bottom, and then Emuela, Yeoman Asher, as we call her, Thomas, and we have Ronald from Australia, and then Bob is over in Chicago. Of course, Emuela, she's in Canada, and we have Wendell, New York. I remember that he's in I think upstate New York, right? Okay. And then we have Matthew has joined us tonight, and Chrissy from Australia. Glad to see you here tonight. Seen you posted a new video, but I haven't got to listen to it yet.
It's pretty good. I've got to go through half of it, and I said, wait a minute, I'm going to go back and start this and all over again. So
right.
Great information.
Well, I try to listen to them at lunch when I'm at lunch, but I get interrupted so many times. So I got to go and listen to that one. Then Fred up in Kentucky, and Scotty, how do you say it?
Yachamel.
I
think I'm saying it right.
I think you said he's in South Carolina.
North Carolina.
North Carolina. And then Annie, Scotty's better half over there.
There she is.
You'll have to bear with me tonight. It's lovely spring weather, which I love, but my sinuses love this time of year too. And they about 2 days ago, they started draining. And I've been trying to keep up with them, but they're going into my throat tonight. So you'll see me getting a lodging or a piece of candy to wet my throat a little bit, because most people don't know that Chattanooga, I think it was in USA and World Report or something several years ago, Chattanooga has the highest sales of sinus and allergy medicines in the country. And the reason why is we have what's called the Little Green Canyon. The way the Tennessee River wraps around Chattanooga, you've got Lookout Mountain and Signal Mountain and several other mountains around here. And the way the winds come up out of the Gulf up through Alabama comes across here, it traps all this foliage, because all of our mountains are covered with trees and stuff. And just the pollen is, I mean, literally you can see it like a fog sometimes in the spring around here. So. And tonight, we're going to move on from the study of theft that we've been doing, because we could literally spend probably the next 6 months on theft. Is so deep, and we'll be going back and forth. It's nothing we'll be going back, because there's a lot of areas that I want to cover in individual lessons, like on deceit and things like that ties in with theft. But tonight we're going to go over into Eiver HaChai and the treatment of nature. And we're going to look at that, at the prohibition there that's given to us in Genesis chapter 9. And that's going to be our topic tonight. You about ready, Scotty?
I'm ready. I'm ready.
All right.
Okay. So we're going to use this cute little Sadaka box somebody sent to us, and we're going to use it tonight. And I want to tell y'all that Power Faith Radio got featured a couple of ways this past week. Power Faith Radio got featured in a local magazine, and we greatly appreciate that. And also, I don't know if any of you remember, here a few months back, we were contacted by a local assisted living facility that right now they have about 14 ladies. And the assisted living places, when a lot of those people, if they had family, you didn't know it. And so this young lady has taken this task on, and she's really working hard on making these ladies feel like ladies. And she was raising some money for some pocketbooks and brushes and things of that nature for a few of them. And in fact, somebody that is on our Sadaka list tonight's been there for a while, sent some funds to them. And so we greatly appreciate that. They sent them through us, but they earmarked it and we got it to them. So, but anyway, we're also featured, Power Faith Radio is featured on they're fixing to do a community fundraiser, and we got listed on that fundraiser. So we greatly appreciate them. So it's at, yesterday was the first day my vehicle had yellow on it. So that pollen is really coming out here in East Tennessee. So hold on just a minute. Now let's see how that works. All right, we're going to get started on our Sadaka time tonight. And we thank everybody that sent anything in, but I want to say you do not have to send anything in. We have funds that are here available to do that with. But if you've got somebody of blessed memory or somebody who is sick or in need of prayer, please just send their name in and we will add them to our Sadaka list. And I want to say, I'm going to try every week to say this, that please write some of these names down, and this between now and next week, try to find you a place where you can give charity and give some charity in honor of these people. So we're going to start, as always, our main teacher, Pesach, and his wife, Shira Sherbo. We're giving Sadaka for them tonight. Also, we're giving Sadaka for Wendy Shepherd tonight. Wendy is so dear to our hearts. And
has anybody got an update on Wendy? I've not heard from her in a while. Do you know anything how she's doing?
I heard today we need to really keep Wendy in our prayers.
Okay.
And so we just really need to keep her in our prayers. In fact, I feel like saying this, so I'm going to say this. Wendy was the one I talked about that sent money for them, for those at the living facility, and she sent a great blessing for them. And so it's going to make me cry. So I just had to stop right there. So anyway, we're
cool
giving,
lady, so.
Yeah, sweet. So we're giving Sadaka for Wendy tonight. Also, we're giving Sadaka tonight for Warwick Marshall. And have you heard anything about Warwick? How's he doing, Ronald? Or
no, I haven't heard anything about it. We've had a bit of texting, and then it sort of stopped again. So probably due to, as I said last time, that he's got a lot of fatigue issues at the moment after the operation. So he may, he may get back to me in a little while, but that could be why.
Okay. Well, we're going to keep him on our Sadaka list. Also, Joe and Evelyn Seal is on our Sadaka list this week. Also, William and Tina Lyons is on our Sadaka list this week. We're giving Sadaka for them tonight. And also, Marge Port. We're giving Sadaka for Marge Port. That's Veronica's mother. And we're also giving Sadaka for Veronica Port tonight. Somebody sends that in all the time. And Amuella, they always send $1 for you, and this is your dollar. It's got your name on it, and it's going in our Sadaka list. And then also Thomas Schaus, same person, sends Sadaka in for you as well to give in the Sadaka. I want to cover how that works one of these days, Terry, coming up. So we appreciate that. Also, we're giving Sadaka tonight for Mary Parsons. Wendell, how is your wife doing on this birthday of yours today?
She's doing good. She's a little more fatigued this week, but that's just a little bit of a dip, but doing very well otherwise.
Okay. Good deal. Also, we're giving Sadaka for my wife tonight, Dolores Helton. I'm trying to get it in this box. And then we're also giving Sadaka tonight for Ronald. Ronald, you're always on our hearts and prayers. And how are you doing, Ronald?
Yep, I'm traveling along okay at the moment. No main issues after getting that medication last week. It's taken a lot of stress out of my life, so I'm real pleased, and I'm just traveling along okay.
Okay, good deal. Thank you so much for everything you do here, Ronald. Also, we're giving Sadaka for my daughter, Pamela Helton, and then we're giving Sadaka tonight for Ethelene Moore. So hold on, let me get ready for our blessed memory Sadaka tonight. We've got 4 people on our blessed memory, and these are names I would especially ask you to write down. and maybe give to some charity this week in their merit. And the first one we're going to give tonight to is in the blessed memory of Barbara Dickman. We're giving in her merit, Barbara Dickman, and then also David Wayne Walton. We're given blessed memory Sadaka for David. I always this part is a great part, giving in blessed memory for these. We're giving for their merit, and so we're doing that. And then also Mary Goosey, we're giving in blessed memory of Mary Goosey tonight. And then Robert St. George, we're giving in blessed memory of Robert St. George tonight. Let us help me pray, would you? Hear our voice, Adonai, our God, Father of mercy. Have compassion on us and accept our prayers with compassion and favor. For you are a God who hears prayers and supplications, our King. Do not send us away empty-handed. Favor us and answer us and listen to our prayers. Amen. All right, Terry, are you about ready to get started tonight? I'm so looking forward to. I've got, when I posted the class times and title tonight, Terry, I already got a couple of questions, and I don't know if you want me to ask you one of these questions, but I already got a couple of questions. What is Everman High? What is that?
We're going to be learning what that is.
And
I did that on purpose.
I know you did. And what kind of connection do we have with nature?
We're going to be learning that.
Okay, so
we're going to begin learning.
People are already wondering by the title tonight, what is this? So, all right, Terry, if you're ready, I'm going to put you on speaker view, and we'll go from there.
I'm going to try to be ready. Y'all bear with me in my throat tonight. It has a tendency to all of a sudden wants to clog up and get dry on me. Maybe I need some bourbon. No, never mind. I better not do that. Yeah, that'll cut everything out. All right. Tonight, lesson on Everman High and the treatment of nature is going to be coming from Rabbi Shimon Dovid's Cowen, Shimon Dovid Cowen's book, The Theory and Practice of Universal Ethics, the Noahide Laws. And I've used his material before, but we've got some new listeners that's joined us since the last time I have, just to let you know a little bit about who Rabbi Cowen is. Matter of fact, when I got this work several years ago, could be as many as 7 or 8 years ago or so, it became a planted thing on my desk. I kept it right at hand. It was up at the time, it was my favorite, and it still is my favorite book to go through, because I clicked with how Rabbi Cohen writes. He's very intellectual. I was going to tell you a little bit about him before we get started. Rabbi Cowen is the founder and the director of the Institute for Judaism and Civilization in Melbourne, Australia. He has a general academic background and a PhD in social philosophy. He knows how to communicate the concepts of ancient, eternal, universal ethics to those raised in a secular culture in terms of its language and its concepts and its disciplines. His work is, like I said, really, it's intellectual. And the reason why I say that, my daughter's 4 years away from having her doctorate in business and marketing. And I've read some of the stuff that she's had to write for her classes when she was getting her last degree. And I'm like, man, I don't know how they come up with how to word sentences, but she just, people that are in that education level, their writings are amazing. And so the first part of the book is like that, because he talks a lot about philosophy, quotes a lot of Viktor Frankl in there. And it's really interesting. The last half of the book gets into the 7 laws and into a way that's not like, the divine code that we use is, like I said last week, it's more like a legal book discussing the Noahide laws on a legal format. Here we're going to be looking at this topic of ever mean high in the treatment of nature. To me, it's like a good down to earth, not such a necessarily elite legal aspect way, but a down to earth way where it's really applicable. And I love his work on this. But before we get started, I was reading from another work that I've had for several years, and I've been going through it again because I'm about to be done with this. But after we get done with going through the 7 laws, I want to take this work and do a book study on this one book called The 7 Gates of Righteous Knowledge. But I was reading this week while I was off work Monday because of my injury was still kind of giving me a little bit where I couldn't walk as good. I come across a statement from Rabbi Weiner or Moshe Weiner that I've really been contemplating in this line for quite a while. And when I read this, it tied some things together. He says on page 72, he says, the very fact that God himself gave commandments to mankind, this teaches us that God has a purpose for creation. God chose human beings to accomplish this goal through their actions. And like I've been, explaining a lot, here lately, that these Noahide laws is not a religion. And when you really read, when God gave the purpose of the commandments gave us the commandments because of a purpose of his creation. It's not about a religion. It's about performing the will and the direction of the Creator. And God didn't give commandments to squish man from his, whatever he wants to do. He gives us the free will, but he gave us the commandments. And that's what I want you to see when we get into this tonight on Ever Mean High, that you're going to begin to see a purpose, maybe like you haven't understood before when we start looking at this particular prohibition. The purpose. And if you can grasp what I'm going to share with you tonight and kind of tie it into what we've been talking about with the others, with idolatry and blasphemy and murder and theft, and tie this into those lines as well, I think you will get a viewpoint and an understanding of the commandments of God in probably a way that you haven't had in the past. And again, any questions you have, we have chat lines open on Power Faith Radio and on our 2 Facebook groups, and also on our YouTube channel. So if you got questions or comments, please pop those in there. We've got people that are watching those that helps get those to Scotty and I, and we'll discuss some of that here in just a little bit. So I'm going to start right here in Rabbi Cowen's book on page 352. And again, I know Scotty, before everybody has said, it's the theory and the practice of universal ethics, the Noahide laws. I'm going to show the picture because I know people are going to want to know where my source material is tonight. Can you see that, Scotty? And then, well, if you can, or one of y'all, Donald, or Ronald, if y'all want to put the name in the chat lines where we can put it in all the groups so where people can see the name, especially with Power Faith Radio and stuff, because it's audio and not video. All right. Ever mean high. This is a prohibition that God gave Noah when he came out of the ark, when he gave man the permission to eat meat. We are not to eat meat taken from a living animal. That's its bread. We're going to come back to that here in just a few minutes. Says the law, Rabbi Cowen says, the law given to Noah prohibiting the consumption of flesh or limb of a living creature. It means the animal has to be 100% dead before we're permitted to eat from it. We're not permitted to take the meat. And then there are certain animals that this applies to. It doesn't apply to the fish and the ocean creatures or anything like that. This applies to mammals, land mammals. That the animal has to be dead. We are not permitted to eat meat taken from a live animal while it is still alive. And I'm going to talk a lot about one of the reasons, not tonight, but in a future class, when we're teaching from Rabbi Hirsch, is really, really interesting on this passage of Genesis chapter 9. It says, the law given to Noah prohibiting consumption of the flesh of a limb of a living creature frames an entire practical, ethical relationship to nature in the Noahide Laws. We've been talking about murder and theft, and we've got other commandments like forbidden sexual relations and idolatry. This law connects us to the creation. The others connects us with the Creator, connects us with mankind. Now this connects us to the creation. By way of introduction, and to distinguish the stance of the Noahide Laws from a variety of contemporary philosophies of environmentalism and animal rights, it is necessary first to recognize that the Torah gives the human beings sovereignty over nature. The verse that states that upon the creation, the human was told to fill the earth and subdue it. In Genesis 1:28, it says, fill the earth, subdue it, and rule over the fish of the sea, the bird of the sky, and every living thing that moves upon the earth. At the same time, human beings were initially restricted in their use of the creation. They were not permitted to kill animals, whether in order to eat their flesh or to utilize other parts of the bodies of the animals, such as hides for clothing. This comes from Genesis chapter 1, Genesis 1:29. And God said, look, I have given you all the herbage to bear seed upon the earth, and all the trees bearing fruit which carry seed, they shall be for you to eat. So the food before the flood, it was, as it's always been known, it was vegetarian. After the flood, permission was given to human beings to kill animals, but at the same time to Noah was communicated the instructions not to consume the limb or the flesh of a living creature. Now, the source passage, the text passage for this study is found in Genesis chapter 9, 3-4. This is an eternal, part of the eternal covenant with God, mankind. Every moving thing which lives shall be for you to eat, just like the herbage. I give you everything. However, flesh which the living spirit exists, with its blood you shall not eat. That means you are not permitted to take meat that's still, the animal is still alive. Now, this being said, I know some want to argue, but that's fine. This is the only dietary law for the non-Jewish people. We are not permitted to eat meat taken from a living animal. The Creator said he has given everything that moves for us to eat. Some want to say, well, God gave kosher. He did. He get the kosher laws that are found within The Torah was given to Israel. We are not permitted to adopt them as a spiritual aspect. If you want to observe them because you think it's good for you, for one thing, it's a mistranslation. When you see clean and unclean meats, that's not what that says. Has nothing to do with cleanliness and filthiness and health. Has nothing. The kosher laws has nothing to do with health. It is spiritual. It is for purity. It is for purity reasons. It's for the animals that's used on the altar. And God restricted the diet of the Jewish people because of their role. We are not permitted to take on kosher laws for spiritual aspect because that will be adding. One of our commandments is we can't add to or take away from our commandments. But if it's what you want to do is for just other than adding spirituality, you can do it. But our only dietary law is this one right here. Do not eat meat taken from a living animal. And Rabbi Hirsch, I will get into that later because Rabbi Hirsch has a really good teaching on that passage. That's really good.
So Terry, before you go further, can I?
No, go ahead.
I just want to give clarification to some chatter that's going on, and if I can just clarify and then have you say something about it. So the kosher, I'm going to call it kosher. Let's call it dietary, or
because kosher just means right.
Yes, for the Jewish is for purity of them.
It's a spiritual purity for them. It will affect their soul. It will not affect ours. We are even by Rabbi Hirsch, we are a different kind. Like Rabbi Hirsch teaches on the law of kind, the law of species. We have a different mission, and even our souls are matches our mission. The Jewish soul matches their mission, and so there's certain requirements so those souls will be able to be energized to its maximum point.
Now on ours deals more with the not being cruel to the animal, correct?
This is the initial aspect of taking care of God's creation and not being cruel to it.
Because when you said, and I know you're probably going to cover this, when you said don't eat the flesh, the limb of a living animal, somebody said, who done that? Well, obviously somebody was doing it because they wouldn't have put that in there.
Some of them would take a leg off of, let's say, a cow. They would cut the leg off while it's still alive, and then they would eat the meat from it.
And when I first started looking into this, I thought the same thing. Who would do that? But there are cultures today that still do this practice.
Right.
So
for us, the animal has to be 100% dead, which means all convulsing has to have stopped before we're permitted to take and eat of that meat. And I'll just drop this hint. One of the reasons why that Rabbi Hirsch gets into it is God does not want, as we've talked about in the past, and I'll go into it when I go through Rabbi Hirsch's stuff. We are not to mingle the soul of the animal and our soul together. And I went through in the past where Rabbi Hirsch shows the difference between the soul that's in the blood and the blood that's in the soul. He goes through all that. It's kind of a real technical kind of discussion, but it's in the Hebrew that Rabbi Hirsch shows. And what it is with the living animal, as long as it's alive and that flesh is taken from it, that soul is alive. That soul has to be dead before we're permitted to eat it. Because if not, we are bringing the life of that animal and its characteristics and mingling it with ours. And then Rabbi Hirsch talks about that a little more in technical. We'll get into later as we cover this subject, because it's a really good lesson, part of the lesson I want to go here in a couple of weeks. Did that help you there, Scotty? Okay. Continuing on. Rabbi Cowen says, the human was given sovereignty over nature by virtue of the significance of his or her having been created in the image of God. This significance is twofold. One, is that the human being is able to apprehend divine values in the light of which he and she are bidden to settle and civilize the world. We are created in God's image, and the significance, one of the significance, is that the human being is able to apprehend the divine values in the light of settling and a civilized world. Animals, and needless to say, other parts of nature, does not have an ethical sense. Rabbi N. Slifkin, Man and Beast, Zoo Torah, 2006, page 69, quotes the philosopher J. Feinberg. And I found this really interesting because I had to read it a couple of times. And once I read this, and I'll do that here a couple of times. Dogs. He mentions dogs. Dogs have a concept, perhaps, of the mala prohibition, the act that is wrong because it is prohibited. Dogs have a concept that an act is wrong because it is prohibited. They do not have a concept that they do not have the concept, the act that is prohibited because it is wrong. I'm going to say that again. Dogs have a concept that an act is wrong because it's prohibited. They do not have a concept of an act that it was prohibited because it is wrong. Any questions there, Scotty? Because I know that's a mouthful.
I'm almost there. Yes. We'll deal with them later. You just go ahead because you have to really listen to the wording.
Yeah, no, I'm trying to take it slow. That's the reason why I'm trying to take it slow. Is because this section, I've read this, I've gone over this several times this week, and I'm just like, I've gone over it before in the past, but it's like here lately when I'm going back into material that I've studied a couple of years ago, because of my studies I've had over the last several years, I'm actually grasping it even in a better sense and deeper sense.
Yeah, several people are saying, aren't you saying the same thing? But so can you say that? I know you said it three times.
No, that's fine. No, that's fine.
Okay, I'm going to mute again because I'm getting a lot of text right now. So you go ahead and go with it.
Okay. I'm going to go back up here where it says animals, and needless to say, other parts of nature do not have an ethical sense. That's really, you got to understand it. Animals does not have an ethical sense because, see, they're not created in the image of God. What gives us the ethical sense is we're created in the image of God. Philosopher J. Feinberg, in his writings, because this is in the footnotes, dogs in general, because we know how you can train dogs to do different things. You can train them for special services for the blind, for the handicapped, for seeking out drugs, fire, national disasters that can help find people that are trapped. And so they're really an intelligent animal in a lot of ways. And so what Mr. Feinberg found is that dogs have a concept that an act is wrong because it is prohibited. But they do not have a concept of an act that is prohibited because it is wrong. They cannot comprehend that something is wrong, that something is prohibited because it is wrong. They can only understand that an act is wrong because it was prohibited. Like, okay, dog does something, you say no. They learn that's wrong. But they cannot understand the prohibition because it's wrong. The second significance is that the human being possesses free choice whether or not to behave ethically. Accordingly, it is meaningful to give an ethical imperative. Accordingly, it is meaningful to give an ethical imperative only to an agent with free choice to act ethically. See, the reason why we have commandments, God has a purpose for the creation. The commandments were given to mankind because of the purpose of creation. And that is, with mankind, we were given the imperative to act ethically or don't act ethically. Being created in the image of God thus relates to a divine agency on the part of the human being. This does not mean that in a spiritual sense, animals, this does not mean that in a spiritual sense, animals cannot also recognize or respond to the divine. Rather, they are not moral agents in nature. In the mystical dimension of the tradition of Torah, it goes back to through Moses, it is acknowledged that animals can recognize godliness. And that's very interesting. Animals can recognize godliness. Have you ever wondered why the animals, like with the situation with Daniel in the lion's den, they recognize the godliness? They're animals can sense what's going on with a person. You'll see, I have seen, with my own eyes, it's happened to me when I was at camp when I was a teenager. There was a guy that had a German Shepherd. One of the counselors had his German Shepherd there. And I was sitting there petting it, rubbing it. This little boy walked up and it just jumped and attacked him. And I'm sitting there, I got my hands on the dog. There was something in the nature of that boy that dog sensed. A dog can, an animal can sense the godliness of human beings, and it can sense the wickedness of human beings.
Okay, Terry.
Go ahead. Did I stir the pot?
Well, you're stirring. You've got a pretty good ladle tonight. For those of you that know what a ladle is. So,
is that where I'm ladled to work?
Yeah, that's right. So there's a couple of different aspects here that's going on communication all over my table tonight, all over my desk tonight. But I want to cover this thing about animals sensing character. Can I say it that way?
Yeah.
Animals sensing character.
Right.
I know people, you know people, and some of these other folks know people tonight that train dogs to sense, like when somebody's going to have a seizure, and they can sense that, they can feel that ahead of time. And you brought up dogs tonight, but let's look at nature just real quick. And the reason I'm bringing this up because a conversation started with it, and I've experienced this. When I was a little boy, I was a hunter all the time. And squirrels, I couldn't find a squirrel anywhere. When I went hunting in the woods, squirrels knew I was coming, and I couldn't find a squirrel anywhere. I'd hunt a rabbit, never seen a rabbit anywhere. Since I've started this walk, I walk out in the morning and I start talking to every little bird I see, every little animal I see. And now there's rabbits that sit in my driveway and don't even pay no attention to me. They'll look up at me and say, "Oh, it's him," and they'll just keep eating. I can walk right by them. And squirrels galore. We got squirrels building in our belfry. We got birds coming sitting on the edge of the car and looking in the window. And I mean, little things like that.
Right.
If we could just take notice of that. Anyway, I just want to throw that in, that animals can sense character in you. So what I was going to tell you, I know you guys what I was going to tell you was, I had this apartment that I was taking care of, and so some people had problem with the refrigerator, and so I did not know they had a dog. They're not supposed to have animals. The gentleman I work for, he doesn't allow certain pets, but now if you need service animals, that's another thing. But anyway, when I knocked on this door, I heard this dog barking. Well, I thought, well, it'll be okay. I'm gonna go on in. Well, that dog just played around my legs, and just rubbed up against me. And I was talking to him, and I fixed the problem, and I left, and never thought no more about it. And come to find out, it was a guard service dog. It guarded these people, and so about a week went by, and the lady called and said, "Hey, did your maintenance man come over and fix the fridge problem?" And of course, my landlord said, "Yes." Said, "Did he get in the house okay?" I guess he did. My dog didn't eat him up? I don't know. I don't guess so. And she said, "Well, I'm taking that dog back." And so I went by there, and as soon as she opened the door, he just come out, just all happy to see me and everything. And she says, I cannot understand that. What is different about you? I said, "Well, I don't know. I just guess we connected." So anyway, I just want to throw that little story in, little thing.
Well, that's true. That happens. Kind of similar to the situation where the dog that I ran into when I was a teenager, and that happened right in front of my eyes. And I'm like, wow, what's the difference? Rabbi Cowen continues, says, he and she, I'll go back to the first sentence, being created in the image of God, thus relates to a divine agency on the part of the human being. He and she are the subject of creation, which drawing upon the divine powers and intervention are bidden to steer the world into perfection. Needless to say, the sovereignty over nature properly belongs to the human being. As being made in the image of God, when the human being indeed manifests the image of God, when he or she acts with refinement, restraint, self-transcendence, and in the service of the divine sanctioned ideals. And the footnote says, for this reason, it was stated that the coarse human being, this is found in the Talmud in Pesachim 49b, that it is stated that a coarse human being should not eat meat as being unfit to achieve its elevation. When a human being acts wrongly, he or she can become lower than the animal because a human being has a moral choice. And in this case, a coarse human being chooses wrongly. And an animal does not. An animal does not choose to do wrong because, again, they're not ethical. We are the ethical creatures of God's creation. Again, the mystical dimension of the Torah tradition states that there are characteristics of the human which can become coarser than even other parts of nature. Now, understand elevation. What does it mean by elevating? Here, where it says he's unfit to eat the meat to achieve its elevation. Understand, when a righteous person eats the meat, or even vegetables as well, but especially since we're talking about meat, the permission of eating meat, when that meat was, the animal had energy, and when it's properly done and it's dead, according to the Torah, that has to be 100% dead. The soul has departed from its blood. When you eat that meat and it goes into your body and it converts itself into energy, if you go and use that energy to do righteousness, to give Sadaka, to act with kindness and mercy, and seeing good in your fellow human beings, when you begin to do what is in the image of God that's within you, then you elevate that animal to a higher level that it could never have been elevated to on its own. But if you are a wicked person and you use that energy that you get from that meat for wickedness, you can actually lower the level of the energy, and you do not elevate, you tear down the energy that came from that animal, because now you're taking it to a lower state than what it was, because it doesn't have the choice. There is no ethical in it. But now you brought it into your body, you can use it to elevate it, or you can tear it down. And that's why the Talmud says it's not fitting for a wicked person to even eat meat, because they can take an animal and reduce it to a lower level. And so we want to take and elevate with the energy we get from our foods. That's the reason why a lot of the Jews, when they have certain blessings over the foods, is because it's going to give that body energy. It's going to keep it awake. It's going to keep it healthy so they can go and do the mitzvahs. And when you do so, you're elevating the creation that you partook of that is in a non-ethical state. You're bringing and you're elevating the creation to a higher level. And I know that's kind of a deep spiritual thing. That's getting into some of the stuff that I've learned over the years myself. I know I see Bob sitting over there. I know y'all probably talk a lot about that in your kabod classes and different things.
So Veronica.
Hey, Veronica, I didn't see you. She came in.
Yeah.
Hello, Veronica.
She's stuck in it. She actually she's not the only one that's asked this. When you said it, she's not the only one that's asked this, and she's asking it. So I'm sure you can give explanation to it. Explain elevating the dead animal. Is it its soul? What are you elevating?
No, the soul has to be gone. You're elevating the energy that's when you eat the meat, it's going to go into your body and it's going to convert it to energy. And you're going to use that energy that you get. If you do righteous acts with it, you're going to elevate that animal died. That animal died so that you can live.
So what you're talking about, it's soul leaving. Its life is gone.
Its life is gone. The soul is gone. But the purpose for that animal's life was, say, a cow, was to feed you, to give. Its purpose was it to be meat for us. But if we do righteous acts with it, we elevate its life. It's like it didn't die without a purpose. But if we do wickedness, we actually lower it than where it was.
Okay.
I mean, in a way, if you look at it, when a wicked person, they kill an animal and they eat it, it's like that animal's life was without purpose, because it went into wickedness instead of righteousness. It gave energy to wickedness instead of righteousness.
Wow. What I don't even want to call that a concept. What a thought of life. Good life, bad life. What a thought of life.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
I told you this is going to, I love this. I love this section. It's really good.
Can I speak for a second?
Hold on to the end if you don't mind, because I've still got a little bit to go, and we're probably going to go over just a little bit tonight, Scotty.
Okay.
All right, Rabbi Cowen continues. He says, the general goal, this section I really wanted to get into tonight, and I'm going to go a tad bit over because I wanted to cover this with what we began. Rabbi Cowen continues. He says, the general goal of redemption, that's a big word for a lot of religious people, but we're looking at it from a Torah viewpoint and not from a religious viewpoint from outside the Torah. The general goal of redemption to which the human being is called as an agent of the divine involves the repair and the perfection of creation to the point where godliness will be manifested within it. The world in which we live until then is an imperfect one. Its physical and spiritual imperfections go hand in hand. Part of the despair of an unredeemed world, indeed a corrupt world, is nature itself. An outcome of the cosmic transgression of humanity in the Torah event of the sin of the tree of knowledge was that nature was also corrupted. The physical earth ceased to yield a spontaneous bounty and became the human being's opponent. A struggle with nature would now be involved a struggle with nature would now be involved for nature to yield its produce. Cursed is the earth because of you. Thorns and thistles will it sprout for you, and by the sweat of your brow you'll eat bread. Genesis 3:17 and 19. As a result of the human moral disorder, there was a change also in the animal world. Get this. How does our observance of the commandments of God affect nature? It did all the way back at the garden. When man disobeyed one rule, it affected nature. Not only did it affect man, it affected nature. It says, as a result of the human moral disorder, there was a change also in the animal world. The animals were created to eat the plants. They were they eat the plants. Some still do, but the tiger, the lion, and many others, the vultures, they no longer eat the plants. They eat meat. Now, some became predators upon other members of the animal world. Thus, aside from the cruelty of human beings, can and have inflicted on animals, to which animal right activists draw attention to the greater cruelty is arguably practiced between animals themselves. Beast and prey savage their victims. The hunted whale, an object of concern for conservationists, is the mass killer of the deep in terms of the quantity of marine life it devours. The savagery of nature in the mystical scheme of things now requires the human being who corrupted nature to redeem it. When we observe the commandments of the Creator, when we observe what we've been studying, and especially when we start to observe HaChai, eating, the prohibition of not eating meat taken from a living animal, we begin to redeem. We redeem the earth through the action and observance of the commandments of God. Again, God gave commandments to us because we had a purpose. We were created for a purpose, not to rule us, not to be a dictator, but he gave us a very high job to settle the earth, to be sovereign over the nature of this planet. And when we are observing the commandments, things change. And I've stated this in the past, it's very controversial. The issue with the rights. The Torah does not teach. God did not. So this is my God-given right. God does not give us rights. He gives us commandments. If we observe the Torah, the commandments that are given to us, be it Jew or non-Jew, there is no need for rights. There would be no need for animal rights if we treated nature the way what we're learning. There would be no need for human rights based on race and other things if we were observing, the prohibition of idolatry and blasphemy, murder, forbidden sexual relations. If we were doing all these things, and theft, if we were doing these things, there would be no need for rights because it wouldn't exist. There wouldn't be a need for it. And so by observing God's commandments, you begin to not only redeem yourself and redeem your mankind, you begin to redeem nature, the planet. The words of the prophets thus spoke of a redemption of nature itself. Comes from Isaiah 11:6-9. The wolf will lie down with the sheep, and the leopard will lie down with the kid, and the calf and the lion and the whelp and the fatling will walk together, and the young child will lead them. Like Scotty was saying, when he was a hunter, he couldn't find an animal nowhere. He quits that. He starts living according to the commandments of God. And now the animals are walking with him, just like it says right here, in essence. Using that as an analogy there, Scotty. A cow and a bear will graze, and their young will lie down together, and the lion, like the cattle, will eat hay, and the suckling will play by the viper's hole, and a newly weaned child will stretch his hand toward the adder's lair. They will neither injure nor destroy in my sacred mountain, for the earth will be filled with the knowledge of God as waters covers the earth. Get this. The earth will be filled, when the earth is filled with the knowledge of God, what we're studying through the commandments is the knowledge of God. When the knowledge of God fills the earth like the ocean, like the waters does the sea, lions will start eating grass. The kid can run his hands in a nest of copperheads and play with them and not get bitten. When it's the knowledge of God on human beings that will correct the earth, and it's the action of human beings upon that knowledge will cleanse the earth. Thus, as part of the redemptive promise, the Torah states, I, God, shall destroy the evil beast from the land. This is explained by the commentary to mean not that wild animals will be destroyed from the land, but rather their savage, evil, wild nature will be removed. This, in turn, will be an aspect of the sensation and the struggle in nature and the human beings with nature, as well as the species among each other. Not only will the animal world be transformed, but also the vegetative and inorganic levels of nature. Thus, there is a description of this miraculous cleansing of the waters of the world, which will regenerate in the vegetation realm and the biological life that depends on it. It's in Zechariah 14:8, Joel 4:18, and Ezekiel 47, all which prophesy concerning a stream that will issue from the temple in Jerusalem and will ultimately spread forth to purify the oceans of the world. This is elaborated in the Talmud tractate, Shulakim. While it has been interpreted as symbolic, many of the sages says it would appear that the Talmud also has a literal sense, as we will see the culmination of the passage in the Talmud, which discusses the transformation of the productivity of the land in both produce and trees of the earth in the times of this redemption. At the same time, the earth will give forth a general abundance. In short, all the conflicts, the blockages, the dysfunctions with nature, as well as the very struggle of humanity with nature, will cease. The redemptive transformation, which will return nature to its ideal, and more than the ideal which it was at the beginning of creation, will be due to a divine intervention. But that divine intervention is merited through the cumulative moral works of humanity. which includes the ethical utilization of nature as set forth in the Noahide Laws. So I wanted to bring to you tonight, share with you that we through idolatry and blasphemy, we connect with the Creator. Through the prohibitions of murder, theft, forbidden sexual relations, and just courts, we connect with humanity. Now with HaChai, HaChai, the prohibition of eating meat taken from a living animal, mankind connects to nature. Everything is covered in these 7 commandments. Every detail in life for all humanity. All humanity, even the Jews, this is part of their commandments. It goes deeper because of their roles as the priestly nation, but we have our share when we begin to act righteously with one another and begin to act righteously in our care with nature, which we're going to continue to, the studies. There is a I've shared this before because I've had my rabbis and my Jewish friends even tell me this. One of the principles that my Jewish friends that I know personally, and I'm not talking about online, but personally in face to face, you're not permitted to pluck a leaf from a tree unless you have use for it. If you don't have use for it, you leave it alone. Because the Creator has use for those leaves. The Baal Shem Tov has a really good story, which I'll share again later as we go through this, and how Shem uses the leaves. Scotty, go ahead. Wow, I finished a little bit faster than I thought I would.
Yachamel, Rabbi Yachamel was going to, and I know what he's going to talk about. Yachamel, you want to real quick bring into the picture the elevation you were talking about? I think that's what you were going to mention. Are you there? Okay.
I'm here.
There
My
there
producer from Lakewood just called me. I'm sorry.
You're okay.
Okay. 2 things. Excellent class. It's fascinating. An animal will only attack another animal, and interestingly, will not attack its own kind of animal normally, but will only attack another animal. So if a person acts like a B'nai Elohim, like we're supposed to, then we're a different class of existence, and the animal won't attack us. That's how Daniel was completely safe. If I know when, I've been walking and there were relatively not friendly dogs around, and you tell them to sit down and they'll sit down. I know on Sukkot, we'll sit in the sukkah and the bees will be sitting on my arm. And, like the guests will be like, there's a bee on your arm. I said, I know, does he look hungry? Give him a drink, give him something. He's probably wants something. I remember this year, my wife said, there's a bug on your arm. And I looked at it, I said, that's not a bug, it's a grasshopper, they're kosher. But the point is, when we eat an animal, it's not only that we're raising the physical, basically the every existence is a covering on the godliness in the world. So when we use any material object in a Torah way, the way the Torah tells us to use it, we raise back the pieces of godliness in that object. So when we eat an animal, if the animal is properly slaughtered, it is properly, cooked, if we have the correct intention in mind, say a blessing, say an after blessing, and then go and use that energy for godly things, we literally can raise the godly sparks from the physical back to godliness. And that's the idea. But it's not only the animal we're raising, the grass field that the ate from, we're raising. The brook that the animal drank from, we're raising. It's a wild concept that's we're literally making the world into the Tachtonim. We're making it into a face of godliness, right? What's the reason Hashem made us? He made an imperfect world for us to raise back to perfection and to make a place where Hashem wants to be, where it's safe, or however you want to word it, where Hashem wants to be, or where Hashem is at home, or however you want to word the phrase. It's when we do the correct thing, we're raising the physical back into, in a sense, spiritual. We're going from Gashmias back to Ruchnias, right? The whole idea of E equals MC squared, matter and energy, was to teach us Gashmias and Ruchnias are that connected. If anything that comes out in a physical way is because it's a reflection of a Ruchnias way. I hope I didn't confuse anybody further.
No.
The way, I've over the past year, because of my studies and stuff, and things like this, and even other areas that I'm studying, kind of to tag on with what you said, which was amazing how it goes along with that ripple effect thing that doing one good deed and how it affect even generations down the road. When you use the energy of say eating the meat of of a cow affects the field, the water, on down the line. This is kind of a way out there thought that I've had this past year, that in learning to observe and walk by the Noahide commandments, I'm rediscovering Gan Eden. Before that's what we're doing. We're rediscovering the Garden of Eden before the fall.
That's a good concept. I see some of these things. I don't even call them a concept because it just means, that's a good thought, and that is good life observing details right there. Good life. Chrissy, you unmuted. Was you going to say something?
Oh, I didn't mean to unmute myself, but look, just while I am then, I'm sorry, I don't know how I did that.
Go ahead.
Just on the subject of animals, which is just amazing. And I look out from here where I'm sitting, I can look across the road and look at my neighbour's cattle. I come up towards his boundary fence. I don't know if you people know this, but you would if you drive out in the country sometimes. You will see the cows maybe moving off in a big group, and then you'll notice there's one or maybe two cows not going to go. They're just standing in one spot. Well, that would be because they're babysitting the calves while the mothers go off and have their drink or stretch their leg and socialise, do some patchwork, quilting, whatever it is. Now, you tell me that's not the hand of God. If there's only a few cows, one cow stay, and they hide the calves in the grass. And so you wouldn't see it, but and then if there's a lot of calves, there'll be two, maybe even three cows, and they'll be the older grandmotherly type cows. So they're a heck of a lot smarter than we are at times, aren't they? I just thought I'd share that because I've frequently watched that miracle. You tell me there's no God, I can look out my window and just see it in action.
That's
really good. Thank you.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right, Terry. And I got dings and emails and texts everywhere, and it's not asking questions, but it's basically saying like wow, like Amy Willis, I never thought of this and never even imagined these things. And of course, as I always like to say when you get through, not that your teaching is lacking, but the depth of your teaching is actually just a drop in a bucket. to what could be revealed in deep study of the text.
Right. Well, it's in my terminologies as a Trekkie, it's a difference between the impulse engines and warp engines.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, either we can travel, on this side of the speed of light, or we can go faster than light. And faster than light can confuse you, though.
Okay, there you go.
Hey, every subject, I need that T-shirt. It says warning. Every conversation ends up talking about Star Trek. Yep, that's right. I need that T-shirt.
All right. Great class tonight, Terry. Thank you so much. I know these type of studies, these types of teaching, you just didn't come in from work and open up your books and said, I believe I'll just talk on this tonight. You have taken time to lay all this out. You think about it. The reason I know you think about it is because you're texting me as soon as you know I'm up in the morning. He's texting me. Oh, I got this. And I saw him. So awesome job tonight, Terry, and those of you that participated, awesome job. Are we ready to come to a close? We've been at it for an hour and 16 minutes. We're getting close.
We're ready.
I got one quickie comment.
Okay.
Availability for me is going to be kind of weird because of Passover.
Yeah.
When's up, when's down. But my adopted son, wife, and baby are coming up, or coming down, I guess, from Baltimore to here. We will be doing a Google class sometime during Moed.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that could kind of be fun. He's both a cipher and a shofet. So in the interest of the animal laws, he might be the person you guys want to talk to.
Okay. Thank you so much for that info. Thank you so much. All right, Terry, I'm going to bring us to a close.
All right.
I've got to say it because somebody always they brought it up on the radio. Broadcasting from the foothills of the Great Smoky Mountains of East Tennessee, you're listening to Power Faith Radio. So thank you so much.
And from here, we're under the shadow of Lookout Mountain.
Yeah.
Which that's the name of Chattanooga. That's the Indian name of the mountain.
Yes.
So we're broadcasting, or we're teaching. He's broadcasting. I'm teaching from under the shadow of Lookout Mountain, Tennessee.
Yeah. So listen, thank you everybody who joined us there in a Simple Walk Facebook page and in B'nai Noach Fellowship, or maybe you're watching these videos in the future. Please, on a Simple Walk, you can share these videos with all your social media platform. In either one of them, you can comment, like, ask questions. We'd greatly appreciate it. And it's brought to you by Outreach Noah, and you can see all the videos on Outreach Noah YouTube channel. Hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell that you'll be notified every time a new video goes up. And you can reach us two different ways. Also, we've got our website. We're still working on it, but it's up and running, and it's it's Outreach Noah. I done the same thing you did. OutreachNoah.com. That'll take you to our website, and then you can email us at OutreachNoah I'm saying a lot of OutreachNoah@gmail.com. And we've had a couple people. In fact, Veronica texted us this week and said, just wanted to say hi. And so, hi, Veronica. So, and remember, it's Wendell's birthday. And remember,
Happy birthday.
Yeah. And remember these 4 that we had on our blessed memory list, and I'm going to read them one more time, that maybe you will go out and give some charity somewhere in the merit of the merit for these folks. Barbara Dickman, that's Ronald Dickman's wife, blessed memory, and David Wayne Walton, Mary Goosey, and Robert St. George. Until next week, we'll be looking for you, I guess. We'll leave a light on for you. So
even though we're not Motel 6.
We're not Motel 6. Okay. All right, everybody. Thank you all for coming. We'll see y'all later. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.